So this injury would have gone to the bone, and probably a surgery would have been required once the bone gets infected. That means I would have lost my foot.
Yes.
Right. Now, suppose I did not know how things work. Okay. I have to depend on what medicine the doctor prescribes and what decision he takes. Would you agree with me?
Yeah.
Right.
Completely.
Now, this is giving us the wisdom in terms of how things work. Right? Just as in spiritual tablets, the first thing we are learning is whatever act we do today, whatever thought we create today can impact us today or tomorrow or day after tomorrow. Today, tomorrow, day after tomorrow here means this life, next life, or the life thereafter. So every thought that is occurring to us is an exchange of energy, and destiny is equal to law of thought. Now, after coming here, we understood the role of manifestation. Correct? Now, let me take a practical example. Now, my injury did not heal. Then I happened to read the book on Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza. Okay. Now, what did that give me? Nothing. It just gave me the single concept which I have captured. I don't know whether I used it in one of our lectures earlier or I did not. You see this diagram?
Yes. 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 करा था हमने.
Right?
Yes.
Now, am I able to see any of this physically till it comes up to this level? Up to the level of a heart or an organ? Am I able to visualize any of that state? Maybe I may visualize a chemical. Correct. But my mind was able to create this process. Right? And in my meditation, I had applied this concept of creating a clean, healthy cell to a tissue. Then my organ was the skin and the flesh inside. Right? And I was able to rebuild and heal that wound completely. Now, tell me, what is the relationship between becoming supernatural and trying to apply it in our healing? Okay. Now, becoming supernatural said, yes, two atoms come together, it becomes an organ. Right? Now, that is theory. But because I know the process, I can effectively walk that process in making a heal.
Yeah.
You're seeing the practical application, right? I have got a daily photograph in terms of the wound for the last 1.5 years. Right? Today I don't find the wound, but the injury and the journey. Now, what all from spiritual tablets did I apply? See, that entire cycle. Today, if I really look back, I don't know the wound. Coming to spiritual tablets, what all did I apply? First, this understanding of supernatural integrated with medicine, right? Then I have got my own chakra system in the body.
Yes.
These stages of this cycle of applying this becoming supernatural theory from atoms to complete body part, right? It happened by meditation, by influencing each chakra system to do its function. Okay. Had I read this introductory chapter earlier, I would have gone in the same process with more knowledge, saying that I am charging you with light energy, I am charging you with water energy, I am charging you with this energy, and done the build up probably a bit faster, but with clarity. Now, the clearer I am on a concept,
Yes.
my clarity of a particular concept, right, gives me better power and reduces the uncertainty by virtue of ignorance and fear.
Yes.
Right? So, any book that I read, any concept that I pick up, my habit is to internalize it. How can I internalize it? I have certain tools. I have a brain. I have a process which is coming as a platform through our meditation, right? And I have a brain which can play the role of a director. Now, suppose I know in real life that walking a particular path after 10 p.m., like in UK, in certain areas, right? Like Houston and then King Cross and all these areas. If I walk that street after 7 o'clock, I better be prepared that I am going to be mugged. So, will I go there after 7 o'clock? As far as possible, I will not. Right? So, that is knowledge. That is information. That is application of that information. So, all these concepts that we are taking, right? Whatever we are learning, we are able to apply it better for improving the quality of life with an understanding. Like today I am realizing that whatever I studied in my physics, Newton's laws, are applicable in real life. Do you know that Newton's law is applicable in emotions?
Somehow.
Not somehow. There is an equivalent of law which I was researching for emotions. Right? There is. I will send you the article. And I will also send you my presentation which I did in Spiritual Tablets Meditation in terms of emotional equations. How they play a role in our life. सर प्रीता जी और ये लोग नहीं आ रहे हैं क्या? एक बार चेक कीजिए.
अनु और गौतमी जी हैं. अनु और गौतमी जी हैं.
हाँ वो तो आ गए हैं. अभी प्रीता और कविता जी एंड अपना मीनाक्षी।
मीनाक्षी। मीनाक्षी तो ट्रेवल कर रही थी दोपहर में जब मेरी बात हुई थी उससे।
क्योंकि ये बुक ऐसा है, एक भी चैप्टर आप मिस करें ना,
जी।
देन आपको क्या बोलते हैं, अपना ब्रिज कॉन्सेप्ट अप्लाई करना पड़ेगा।
वही जैसे उसने बताया मुझे, मैं फटाफट इमीडिएट उसको बोला मुझे लिंक दे दो।
नहीं नहीं, और अपने ग्रुप में लिंक जो है डिस्क्रिप्शन में हमेशा रहता है।
Okay, 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 fine. Thank you. Okay, 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 right. ठीक, thank you. ठीक, ठीक, ठीक. Okay. Prithaji, sir is not able to join
Okay.
for 2 days. She is
Okay.
on the way actually. Well, she is traveling somewhere.
Okay, no problem. So, ma'am, does that answer your question?
यस।
So, we have to create, what we have are various frameworks and platforms. Okay, so now let
So
us.
I want to work on my stress or emotional imbalancing.
Correct.
तो मुझे
I
भी
will
ये है
send
कि
you my notes on that.
या और उसमें मुझे बहुत मतलब मैम से एक दिन बात हुई, वो कहते हैं तू कर बहुत कुछ रही है लेकिन तू सब चीज अपने लिए तू कुछ नहीं कर रही, अपने लिए टाइम निकालो। उन्होंने सारा एनालिसिस किया, गिव टाइम टू योर सेल्फ, अपनी छोटी छोटी मूवमेंट्स को एंजॉय करो। तो मुझे फिर ये होता है कि जब एक पर्सन पे सारी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है, घर की आप ड्यूल वो कर रहे हो, पता है कि कैसे फाइनेंसेस मैनेज करने हैं, कैसे बच्चे का करना है, कैसे घर को करना है, तो वो रेस्ट कैसे कर सकता है, वो चीज मुझे थोड़ा सा ना वहां अटक जाती हूँ। फिर 2 दिन उन्होंने बताया, मैं लास्ट वीक बड़े
Expectations.
अच्छे से रही।
नहीं, fundamentally expectations.
एक्सपेक्टेशंस तो तब होती है कि जब हमें सामने से दिख रहा हो कि कोई देगा,
नहीं,
ऊपर
expectations
रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी।
हर जगह होता है. There are conscious expectations and unconscious expectations.
हाँ, मेरी एक्सेप्टेशन ये है कि मुझे पीस ऑफ माइंड चाहिए, मैं
तो
इसीलिए
पीस
वो
ऑफ माइंड को डिफाइन कीजिए ना. व्हाट डू यू मीन
मुझे
बाय पीस ऑफ माइंड?
मीन्स के जैसे प्रवीणा मैम ने भी कहा कि मैं अपने लिए टाइम नहीं निकाल पाती। मुझे जैसे अगर मुझे मेडिटेशन में मजा आता है, म्यूजिक में मजा आता है, किसी समय होता है कि डीपली पेंटिंग करूं, मेरा आर्ट क्राफ्ट मैं इतना अच्छा करती, सब चीज छूट गया, मैं उसके लिए टाइम नहीं निकाल पाती।
ठीक है, एक मिनट, आई हैव टू
एक्सपेक्टेशंस
मेक
तो
वन
मेरी ये
कॉल.
होता है।
नहीं, एक
हाँ,
मिनट मैडम, मेरे को एक कॉल करना है.
क्या? यस सर।
हाँ, अब बोलिए मैम।
हाँ जी। एक्सेप्टेशन तो मुझे अपने आप से ज्यादा होती है कि मुझे जो अपनी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज करनी चाहिए वो मैं नहीं कर पाती अपनी हेल्थ की वजह से। और बहुत सारा, और मैं अपना जो इंजॉयमेंट का या थोड़ा सा जो आर्ट क्राफ्ट का टाइम था मैं वो नहीं कर पाती, अपने लिए टाइम नहीं निकाल पाती
No,
कि।
you have to force yourself. I will send you that book also. Listen to that. It is by Chip Connolly, titled Emotional Equations, and they have a direct bearing with Maslow's law. तो आप एक बार पढ़ोगी तो आप सुनोगी तो भी, आई विल सेंड यू द ऑडियो बुक्स।
ऑडियो सेंड कर देना मुझे।
ठीक है, आई विल डू। ठीक है, सो लेट अस गेट बैक इनटू
यस।
आवर सेशन। So we were, what were we discussing last time, Virender ji? Virender sir, anyone remembers what was the topic we were discussing?
तो वही था जो लास्ट था जिस दिन प्रीता मैम भी आए थे कि वो 12 स्टेजेस वाला चार्ट आपने दिखाया था।
Ha. So that is what happens after death.
हाँ, वो
Correct.
दिखाया था।
Now, what we will do is, we will now maybe digress, stop, and go a little backward in terms of understanding the background of why this book had to be brought about. One second. So we will go a little bit backward to understand the entire concept of this universe and how it plays out in our life. That he has done in 17 pages with so much content that I am literally blown away. Whatever I have read in spiritual tablets till now is only 1/10 of what these 17 pages cover. So it is that interesting and that informative. So let me just open up. ये sharing में नहीं है. This is part 2. right? So let us understand this. The purpose, what is the purpose of the universe which we discussed last time? Anybody? The purpose of the universe is to ensure that every single nature matter material attains the 100% balance. And how is that done? That is done by virtue of progression. And we already discussed the difference between progression and evolution, correct? Everyone is clear on that? Or anyone
Yes,
has
sir.
any question?
No, clear.
Clear, right? So that each one of us will be progressively conscious in ever higher degrees in being conscious. That means our level of consciousness will consistently progress. Right? What does that mean? That is, when we say conscious, conscious of nature and beyond. By the virtue of the nature itself, we will keep on progressing further and further, further and further. What does nature mean? Nature here has got a definition. Nature is that entity where one can be made conscious of through the senses. What are the senses?
Five senses.
Pardon?
Five senses.
See, they say five. This book says that senses are nature material. Okay. So, touch is not belonging to nature. It is belonging to sense and feeling. Feeling and desire का component हो गया है. So, the senses are those which are related to fire, air, water, and earth. In other words, fire is light, heat, right? Air is, we know, the form. Water is, water is the form, air is the life, breath and all, and smell, etc. Earth is the solid part that we can feel. Thus, touch is not included, which is the feeling and desire component. It is not really a sense element because it is not belonging to nature. So what he says is the four elements related to fire, air, that is light, smell, liquid का क्या है मेरे को याद नहीं आ रहा है. हाँ, and हाँ, liquid का taste है, earth का. What is the pardon?
अर्थ का गंध होता है, स्मेल.
स्मेल अर्थ का है कि एयर का है?
अर्थ का आता है सर. जहाँ इसकी ये ग्रॉस एलिमेंट के साथ जहाँ पे इनके सटल एलिमेंट्स आते हैं तो अर्थ का गंध बना जाता है.
और फिर एयर का?
तो स्मेल. एयर का एयर से हम सुनते भी हैं और एयर स्पर्श भी देती है. स्पर्श मतलब टच एयर से ही हमें फील होता है. ये कुछ ऐसा है इनमें जो इसके जब सटल एलिमेंट ग्रॉस एलिमेंट के सटल एलिमेंट से तन मात्राएं जब पढ़ते हैं ना, काफी देर पहले पढ़ी थी तो तब था उसमें. और जल का आ जाता है
एलिमेंट्स, राइट? सो एनीथिंग दैट वी कैन recognize by means of our sense. So I think one of them is sound, one of them is this one. Sound, I think, is air then.
Air.
Okay. Right. So one of them is taste. I mean, this is light, taste, smell, and sound. Correct. So these are the ones by which our consciousness increases, and we are our nature is these four elements. So anything in nature will consist of these four elements. It won't touch, it won't consist touch. That is why he says touch is not belonging to nature. touch is belonging to the feeling and desire component. ठीक है ना? Right. So now this book is actually taking us through the journey of us understanding what is it that our body is made up of, and one mysterious element that he always talks about is the doer in the body. Right. So what is this doer also? He will explain to us. Ideally, we are used to identifying ourselves with respect to the body or this body mechanism. Correct? We can't think of our body beyond the physical existence. That is what he is trying to say. Ideally, we do that. But we need to understand that we are the body. We need to be seeing the distinction between the body and ourselves. What does that mean? And he says,
body.
first clearly learn to see the distinction between yourself and the body you live in. What does that mean?
So consciousness.
It
और
means,
जो
see,
दृष्टा
there is
है,
something
दृष्टा.
beyond the physical body,
Yes.
right? That physical body, that physical body belongs, that physical body belongs to something. It is just like a dress that we are wearing. So there is an occupier who is coming from the triune self, whom we call the doer in the body, and that doer happens to be that component of our body which does not change. It progresses, but it does not change. Right?
Is it soul?
It is the soul.
Yes.
So there is one part in us which is always changing. What is that?
Body.
See, there is
Body and
one
mind.
part which of in us which is always changing.
Desire.
What is it that is changing?
Is it physical part? I mean,
Yes.
body?
The physical body.
Body and mind. Yes. Yes.
So our body is a physical mechanism in which we are living, a physical organism. Sahi hai na?
Yes.
And who is operating this?
So
This is a physical organism or a physical mechanism.
Soul. I think soul is the operator.
soul.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the soul throughout this book has got a name that is known as the doer in the body. And where is this doer coming from? See, in the last session, we spoke about the triune self, correct?
Yes.
The triune self, which is a completely balanced entity. Pawan, I'm actually in a class. Okay, if it is urgent, I will take it. Otherwise, because we record these sessions and all. బిల్లు తర్వాత పంపిస్తామని చెప్పండి. వారంటీలోనే ఉంది, లేకపోతే వాళ్ళకి ఎందుకు రిపోర్ట్ చేస్తాం? Sorry for the digression. Bar, there is some problem going on somewhere and people are contacting me. Right. So, what was I saying? Yeah. So, therefore, our body is the physical mechanism and there is some operator for this body. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, yes. Sure.
Right.
Yes, sir.
So this operator is the doer in the body who is part of the triune self who has come down to a portion of the doer portion of the triune self which has come down to this one. So what is important is that we should know we are not no, where did I come? Where did we come into this? One second, I think I picked up the wrong part of it. Right. So it is what we are. Therefore, we are the living part, a living nature mechanism that we are operating, and the operation is done by
Soul.
the soul. Now, this living mechanism, he is also comparing it to an animal that we are trying to understand, to train and master. So there are two elements to us. There is the soul element, which is the never changing one, and the personality, which is consistently changing. We need to be aware of that. Right. So now, as a physical phenomena, we have a body, correct? So therefore, our body is a physical organism. Our body had a beginning and it will have an end. And
Yes.
from the beginning to the end, it is subject to the laws of the world, of phenomena, of time, of change and time. Correct?
Correct.
This is the physical world that he is talking about, which the body has got a relationship with. Right? So now, from that conscious self, as an individual, right, we have got both components. So there is this mysterious unchanging part and the known changing part. The known changing part, he says, is an animal that we are trying to learn to control and all that. Correct? So now,
Correct.
but I am conscious that in this human body of which I am conscious during my waking hours, there is something which is conscious. That is, now there is, in this body, there is some component which is conscious, something that feels and desires and thinks, but that does not change. Right? That is correct, right? We keep feeling something is there, but we don't know what it is. Because from childhood till now, while we may physically look at us changing, there is something inside which we are conscious of, which is not changed. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
So all of us agree with the author. That conscious self is the one which is driving this body to act. And yet, it is not the body. Body is merely following the instructions, correct?
Correct.
And it is coming from the triune self. There is that part which is thinking, which is desiring, which is feeling. All these things are the characteristics belonging to the triune self in the human body. Otherwise, this thinking is belonging to another part of the world, of the universe. So this clearly this conscious something, whatever it is the me, is that is what I am actually. That myself is an embodied doer. To look upon ourselves as an immortal doer in a human body, that is what we should be looking at. That means this conscious self in the body is called the doer in the body. So that is what he deals with in most of the book. So we have to look at it from this perspective. There is this doer in the body which is encapsulated by some physical component, which is the human body. And this doer is an immortal component. Correct? As we learn to think of ourselves as a doer, as the doer in our body, we will be taking an important step towards understanding the mystery of ourselves and other entities. Right? So that is one of the purpose for us to understand how we identify ourselves. We need to identify and recognize that there are two components. Right? The next stand that he is going to take us through in trying to define and understand this, who am I? Right? While we have finished one portion of it, which is talking about the physical body, right? The next level of who am I, he doesn't call it who am I gave it the title because I was getting inputs for that concept of who am I also. So who am I? How do we identify ourselves? When we are doing the identity part, we have got two components that we have clarified just now. Now, how does our body function? We are aware of our body and all else that is of nature by means of the senses. Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
It is only by means of our body senses that we are able to we are able to function in the physical world. That also you will agree?
Yes, sir.
Any dispute from anyone?
No, sir.
So we function. How do we function? We function by thinking. And where does our thinking come from? मैम आपका क्वेश्चन इसमें कवर होता है.
Yes, sir.
आपका क्वेश्चन इसमें कवर होता है, दिख रहा है? गुरपिंदर जी.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
आपका क्वेश्चन
Clarity for
इस लाइफ का, राइट, जड़ जो है, इट इज इन
Thinking.
our feeling and desire. Our feeling and desire. आप desire को निकाल दीजिए और feeling को निकाल दीजिए, तो आपका thinking क्या है मेरे को समझाइए. See, suppose we leave aside the desire and feeling. What is thinking for us?
फिर तो सर पीस रहेगी.
हाँ जी.
फिर तो शांति रहेगी.
आप मेरे को सुनाई नहीं दिया, पता नहीं क्यों.
मैंने सर फिर तो अगर डिजायर्स एंड फीलिंग्स ही नहीं रहेंगी तो फिर मेंटल पीस रहेगा.
Correct?
एक स्टेबिलिटी रहेगी.
Right. So our functioning is by virtue of feeling and desire, and this feeling and desire which creates and generates the thinking. So that becomes a vicious circle. Our feeling and desiring and thinking invariably manifest in bodily activity.
हाँ.
Correct.
Yes.
Physical activity is merely the expression. They keep saying that whatever you see outside, whatever you experience outside is the exteriorization of your inner activity.
हाँ.
This is
Yes.
what it actually means. Right? So physical activity is merely the expression. Our body with its senses is the instrument. The mechanism which is impelled by our feeling and desire, it is our individual nature machine. Correct, na?
Correct, sir.
Right. So our senses are living beings. He calls our senses as living beings, invisible units of nature matter. What is nature matter? Go back to our previous session.
Our senses are.
Nature matter and intelligent matter. वो डायग्राम याद है ना सबको कि भूल गए? लगता है सब भूल गए. ये डायग्राम याद नहीं है. नेचर मैटर एंड इंटेलिजेंट मैटर याद आ रहा है?
Yes, sir.
Right? याद आ रहा है ना? What is nature matter? Everything in the universe is nature matter, and they differ from each other in terms of the degree of consciousness.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, if anyone has forgotten anything, please ask me. I will remind them. All madams, I've got 5 madams here. 4 madams. Anu, Gautami, Gurpinder ji, Gayatri ji. All of you are on the same page?
Yes, yes.
Correct? So, our senses are living beings which are invisible units of nature matter. These start forces that permeate the entire structure of our body. So these elements are actually something that are across our body. Right? What is the function? All actions happen through these senses, right? Our senses are the ones that are driving, they act as the instrument which trigger your thinking, feeling, desiring. Correct? And our senses are living beings, invisible units of nature matter. That means there is maturity and immaturity both. There is a degree of consciousness variation among them. Our senses serve as the centers, the transmitters of impressions between the objects of nature and the human machine. Clear? Now, this human machine is the one that we as the doer in the body is operating, correct? Further, our senses are entities which, though unintelligent, are conscious as their functions. Right? What are our senses? Let us name 4 of them.
Air, water, fire.
Our physical senses in the body.
Okay, ear, nose.
Correct. Now, they are entities which, though unintelligent, are conscious as their functions. Can your eyes hear?
No.
And can your ears see? Right. So each of them has a function, and our senses are intelligent or conscious to the extent that they are to perform the function that they are to perform.
Yes.
And these are nature's ambassadors, nature's representatives in our body or to our core. See the beautiful way he has constructed.
Here, court is a body, right, sir?
Court is the
Court?
body. Court is the
Okay.
body.
Okay, sir.
Correct. And your thinking, feeling, desiring are the ones which are controlling the action. How are they controlling? By means of the senses. Senses trigger. Correct. Right?
Correct.
So, our body and its senses have no power of voluntary function. Please think. Power is not with them. Who is owning the power?
Doer part.
Right? That power is us, the operator, the conscious self, which is, in other words, is the embodied doer in the body. Without the doer in the body, the machine cannot accomplish anything. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Our body is just like the glove through which we are able to feel and act. Let us see how he is building the entire theme.
Very beautifully.
Correct. Now, the machine cannot accomplish anything. The involuntary activities of the body. So there is the voluntary activities which are controlled by the doer. Correct. And the imbalance units of nature which are in our body. Okay. So the involuntary activities of our body. What is the involuntary activities?
All of our
Involuntary
body
activities, our breathing, blood circulation, all these are involuntary activities, right?
circulation, yes, automatically.
So the work of the involuntary activities of the body, that is the work of building, maintenance, tissue repair, and so on and so forth, are carried on automatically by the individual breathing machine. In the previous chapter, when we were talking about even in the conception, right, there is the form aspect and there is the breath aspect, correct? We
Correct,
discussed that, correct? Right.
Yes, sir.
What is the function of the breath aspect? What is the function of the breath aspect? Breath is the life giver.
Active life giver.
Correct. He is the active component. His job is to give you life and maintain and build your body. Okay. these are automatically by the individual breathing machines as it functions for and in conjunction with the great nature machine of change. See, there is one portion of us, the machine which keeps changing, right? अभी थोड़ी देर के पहले पढ़ा था ना. And this is how this is the routine work, right? How the world functions under the design conditions. These are the design. See, under normal conditions, this is how things work. This is my comment, not from the book.
Okay.
Okay. Let us digress here and have a little bit of a discussion, right? So, what is it that we have understood now? Anu, Gayatri, Gautami, you can have your videos on. We are not going to object. So, now, see, on one side, he explained that we are all nature matter. Correct? Our degree of individual awareness keeps changing. Right? Now, in this awareness, right, this awareness is coming about by virtue of one component in our body, which comes from the triune self, which we are calling the doer in the body. But there is also the four elements of nature which are there inside us, each of that conscious at a particular level.
Mm.
And they form the component of the driven in the body. Body machine may, they have got certain functions. There are two types of functions that the body undergoes: voluntary function, involuntary function. Correct. Now, who is controlling the voluntary function? Is the body controlling it?
No.
Right? If I don't have a thought, or the doer inside the body does not trigger a thought by means of feeling and desire, right? Then what function will the voluntary functions? I mean, what movement or what activity will the voluntary motor do? Nothing.
Zero.
Zero. Whereas the function of what has to be done naturally to support the growth of the body, the sustenance of the body, is done by the involuntary function. And that is done not by the doer in the body. It is done by the breath form, breath. The individual breathing machine in the body is doing that function. See how beautifully the entire design of the body happens to it.
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah.
Now, with this knowledge, let us go back to your question when we started. How is this going to be useful for us in life?
Yeah.
You tell me, ma'am.
So basic understanding सारी
हाँ?
कैसे कहाँ पे क्या basic
Correct.
understanding से help मिल रही है.
Right. So, if we have got a problem, is the problem in the voluntary function or the problem in the involuntary function?
Involuntary function.
If it is
Yes.
in the involuntary function, then our breath control and breath management and supporting the breathing machine in the body, we can achieve whatever we want. So, you are
Yeah.
bringing in the voluntary component of the doer in the body to take advantage of the breathing machine in the body to set right a problem, which is what happened in the example that I gave you. I didn't know all this at that time.
By default, you did that.
No, I did it because I said I have to do it.
Okay. It's your strong
But
willingness.
Today, after this introductory portion of 1.5 pages from the book, I am able to understand how it worked.
Hmm.
Are you
Correct.
seeing the value of this? And how valuable it is to us counselors in spiritual tablet?
Yes, yes, yes. It's highly important.
Correct. So now we will, what is the time? We have half an hour, so I can cover some more portion. Is it okay? Up to 8:30? Is it okay? So
ये
then we
recording
will
तो
stop.
होगी ना?
Huh?
हाँ.
So we will
Recording
stop
हो
here.
रहेगी
No
ना?
issue. This is a logical break point. That is why I wanted to ask.
नहीं,
So
sum up आप कर दो या तो फिर थोड़ा सा.
ना sum up तो हो गया ना अभी, इसीलिए मैं
Yeah,
यहाँ पे
हाँ.
sum up किया.
We have to take care कि वो पहले एनालाइज करना है कि इनवॉलंटरी पे प्रॉब्लम है या वॉलंटरी पे. वॉलंटरी की हेल्प लेके हमने इनवॉलंटरी पे वर्क करना है.
वर्क कर सकते हैं और उसके लिए फ्रेमवर्क क्या है? अपना मेडिटेशन प्रैक्टिस.
या
मेडिटेशन
तो मेरी
प्रैक्टिस को
बहुत
आप कैसे
ज्यादा
यूज
होती है.
करोगे? You will start with Anapanasati. Then when you go into the suggestibility state, what is suggestibility state? It is in deep meditation. He explains the concept of death and sleep beautifully. See, now what happens is, this is how the functioning has to happen. In the next portion, he beautifully explains, right? He says, nature has designed the machine the way it is supposed to work. It has provided voluntary function and involuntary function. However, we as human beings, we get confused and we bring our voluntary function into the domain of the involuntary function. Left alone, it will heal. But we bring in our emotions, we bring in our thoughts, our thinking, and lay an influence on the natural process. Right? Why do you think sleep has been provided for? This comes in the Seth book also. In the Nature of Personal Reality also, this concept comes. Why do you think we have been provided with sleep? Sleep is actually a form of death, where the conscious mind is put to rest. When the conscious mind is put to rest, right, then the natural, the involuntary function takes over the functioning of the body. When that is, and the doer in the body is busy in his astral travel.
Yeah.
Right. Now, in sleep, the body's natural function takes over, and that is one reason now I am able to relate. Whenever we go to a doctor with any peculiar problem, right, first thing he says is bed rest.
Yeah.
Right? I'm able to relate those concepts now. मेरा स्लिप डिस्क प्रॉब्लम है, 3 महीना बेड रेस्ट. वो बेड रेस्ट में क्या होगा? He is not giving you any medicine. It is, you are letting nature take over and set right your problem, because that is how the body is designed. क्या सब्जेक्ट है और क्या किताब लिखा है साहब ने, hats off to him. इतना तो मैं स्पिरिचुअल टैबलेट्स में भी नहीं समझा जितना ये आधे घंटे में अभी समझा ना. I didn't understand so much even while reading spiritual tablets.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Correct. So we will stop here. If there is any discussion, we can have. Otherwise, I will stop the recording.
I have to leave.